Hello again, witchy people. Long time no see, and I do apologise. As many of you know, I do have some quite serious health problems, but I also suffer from depression, and I think my health problems brought on depression, which kind of made me stay away from YouTube for a few weeks. And it got me thinking a lot, actually. And I kind of wondered why it is that so many witches seem to suffer with depression. And is it just because we're more open to admitting it? Or is there a reason why so many of us do? We suffer from depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. And it had me up so late a couple of nights ago. I actually stayed and took notes. So I am going to read from my notes because it was just some things that were running through my head. And I thought, you know, there must be an answer as to why so many witches seem to suffer from bouts of depression. Personally, I am a manic depressive. I suffer extreme highs and extreme lows, also known as bipolar. I hate the phrase bipolar. I will always be a manic depressive. So, and what I'm going to say, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I don't care. Part of me, and part of the reason I think so many witches suffer with depression is because we are more honest. We're realists. And let me explain that. I don't want anyone to say that anyone who follows a different path isn't honest or a realist. What I'm saying is that we're open to these facts that we are the rulers of our own fates. We control our future. And because of that, we then understand that everything we do, as everything that everyone else does, will cause ripples and thus consequences. And these consequences and ripples obviously are not just for ourselves, but for other people as well. And within our own lives, within the lives of others. On top of that, I think many witches are empaths, and we take on that burden of others' emotions, their emotional feelings, their emotional turmoil quite often. Whether we intend to or not, we just take that on. We feel it, and we, in many ways, we take that on ourselves to help relieve someone of their burden, their emotional burden. Which is quite strange, because depression in itself, I feel, is very much a lack of emotion. You have no want, no desire to do anything. And it's the total numbness, the lack of emotion and feeling that produces that undesiredness, that apathy. You find no joy, no true joy in things. You find nothing truly sad. And quite often with depression, one of the first emotions that a doctor or a medical professional will try to make you feel is anger, because it's one of the easiest emotions to conjure. I digress. So, I'm not saying that any other path or way in life or religion is closed or not understanding to those facts that we're open, honest and realists. But as witches, we are openly and very connected to the idea that we control our own destinies. On top of that, I think, along with that realism, as we are able to admit to ourselves that there is no such thing as perfection. There is no idealism. And to realise and to admit that means that we have to accept the lack of perfection, not only in the world and our lives, but within ourselves. And it can hit hard for many, many witches. And sometimes this strive for more perfection or an idealistic scenario is too hard, and it wears us out, especially emotionally. So then we're back to that lack of emotion, and it gets to the point where we have no more emotion to give, and that, once again, is depression. This lack of feeling, the inability to have the want to do something, the desire to do something, anything for a while. And of course there are other reasons why we may be so very susceptible maybe to depression. And I think there's part of that as well, another reason that goes along with that. So I think that some of that depression may stem from almost a fear of persecution, if you like, from outsiders who don't understand our beliefs or our path, or worse still, from people, from other pagans and witches within our own community who may disagree with our methods, our path. And it gets to the point where too many witches feel as if they have to explain themselves and their uniqueness, why they do things differently. It's not wrong, it is just different. I say that so often, but we shouldn't have to explain these differences to other witches, and that's really got to stop. We've got to stop thinking that our way is the only way. We have to accept others and the way they do things differently a lot more than we do. Now, part of that is, I think, if you're conversing and you're interacting with a newbie witch, we all have to understand and learn the differences between advising someone and telling them or dictating to them. You can advise, but don't tell them. You have to let someone develop their own path, even if it's not going to be the same as yours and they're asking you for advice. You have to let them grow on their own. And on the flip side of that, with more experienced witches, we have to accept within our own community that the knowledge that these people have gained, these more experienced witches, I'm not going to say older witches because they're not necessarily older, but more experienced witches, all that knowledge they have gained and learned is through their own experience. It's what's become right for them. And I think a lot of it always does go back to how we treat each other within our own community, not just how we see life and react to life. But like I said, I think we know there isn't a perfection. There isn't a perfection to strive to, and there is always going to be an imperfection in what you do and what you see and in everything. And we have to accept that. And when accepting that, we also then have to accept that there is imperfections within ourselves. And it is hard and it is draining emotionally. But also when we perform magic, we are depleting our energy so much. And your emotions are energy. So when you're depleting your energy, you're depleting your emotions, and that causes depression. you know, but like I said, this is just an opinion, and I suspect a lot of people will disagree, and that's fine. It is just my opinion. But I do believe that this is part of the reason, maybe, why so many witches suffer with many forms of depression and anxiety. So there you go, just my 2 penneth worth on partly, obviously, the reason why I haven't been here YouTubing. I think I've been on YouTube once in the past, 6 weeks? 5-6 weeks. And like I said, it has been very, very difficult here for me at the moment, and I'm just being a manic depressive or having manic depression as being part of my life. I'm either very, 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 very good and very, very happy, or I am very, 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 very low and I'm in a pit and I don't want to get out. Which is fine. If I'm going to suffer from depression, this is the depression I want to suffer with. And I know that sounds really odd, but I like the highs. But obviously you have to be careful with these highs. Any manic depressive or bipolar person will know that you have to let other people around you know that there are certain triggers, certain ways of acting where you really need to be taken control of, where you are not really safe to make your own decisions and judgments. But I have been on a high for so long, and I had a real slump when my father passed away, and that affected me a lot, to the point where I was diagnosed with PTSD, which is ridiculous. Yes, my dad was a huge part of my life, but PTSD? It's not like I'm a war veteran and I deserve to, you know, be given that, the care and attention for that. And I just feel that I didn't deserve to be given that moniker, if you like, that something so traumatic had happened to me. Yes, it was traumatic. But I think maybe I was angry at myself. Anyway, and that put me in a 2-year slump. And as I started coming out of that slump is when I started with this YouTube channel, as I began to come out of it. And I think it helped. And for a while now, it's been sort of, you know, I do get dips and, you know, highs. But I've been quite level for a while, and I should have seen this coming. I should have seen this bang of depression just going to hit me. I should have known it was coming, and I should have been prepared for it, and I wasn't. And I'm the kind of, when I am in the throes of depression, I sit and think a lot. And my mind will go off on all sorts of weird tangents. But for the most part, I sit and think about, well, why am I depressed? And as anyone who suffers from any kind of depression will tell you, if you knew why you were depressed, you would do something about it. It's the not knowing, really. And like I said, yes, it's a chemical imbalance in the mind. You also find a lot of depressives will suffer from migraines because it's a brainwave thing. It affects your brainwaves, apparently. Anyway, I'm digressing again. All I wanted to say was I am sorry I haven't been here. I am going to try and catch up on everything. I'm going to start getting the videos back online. But I felt this was important. I wanted to say sorry. I wanted to try and explain myself without, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I don't want anyone to say, oh, you know, poor you, you're suffering from depression. You know, so many of us do. But that's what got me thinking. It started my brain ticking as to why we did. And that's kind of what I came up with in a weird sort of way. So that's it. I'm going to go now. I'm going to stop rambling on and let the dog in, because the dog now wants to come in. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I will be back very soon. I will really, really try to. Thank you so much, and bye bye for now.